Hey everybody, welcome back. These are some scandalous family secrets that were uncovered on TikTok.
Did anyone else take an Ancestry DNA test and accidentally uncover a family secret? Because I did, and I really didn't expect to. So my family has always said that we're 100% Irish. That's all we identify as. But we have a Czech last name, and my dad can tan. So I was like, well, let me see how Irish we really are. And I took a DNA test. It came back, I'm half Irish and Scottish. I German, some Iberian Peninsula, some Swedish. Nothing super surprising, I'm super white. And so a year passes, I forget about this DNA test, and I get a message from a guy named Falango, who is Polynesian, and he says I'm his highest DNA match and he's in search of his birth dad. And so I look at my DNA matches, and he's also one of my highest DNA matches. He's the only high DNA match that I don't already know as someone who's my relative. And I give him access to my family tree, and he's working with this couple who's helping him out, and they point out something really interesting about my grandfather.
What? What did they point out? Did you just find out you got a brother from another mother?
So they pointed out something I hadn't noticed. My grandfather was born when my great-grandmother was 15 and unmarried, and it wasn't until 4 years later that she married the guy that I knew as my great-grandfather who gave us our last name. And Falango is in his 70s, so he was conceived during World War II by one of my relatives who was serving overseas in Polynesia. So he thinks that my grandfather is his stepbrother. At this point, I get my family involved. My dad is super pissed that I'm questioning his bloodline, but my brother agrees to take a Y-DNA test to help narrow down the paternal line. And also, for context, my grandfather died 10 years ago, but this does explain why he refused to answer any questions about his family history. I have no idea if he actually knew who his biological father was. When questioned, he said, the past is the past.
Oh, that's not inconspicuous.
And he was a mean, scary alcoholic, so I never pressed him.
The past is the past. It's the past. Don't worry about it. Says someone who has a past they need to hide. Ancestry said we're not responsible for ruined families. Did someone actually think that they're responsible? How dare you share my secret?
How dare you?
I wanted my illegitimate children to remain illegitimate.
So my brother takes the Y-DNA test, and we narrow it down. There's a few false starts, but we find out who my biological great-grandfather is. He's a guy named Albert who lived in Ohio and actually had a Russian last name, not a Czech last name. And he fathered my grandfather and then went to serve in World War II, fathered Falango, came back from the war back to Ohio, and had a daughter and a family there and never told anybody about the other 2 children that he had secretly fathered. And his daughter is still alive, and we reached out to her, and she was very upset to hear that her dad had 2 other kids and that we existed. So I really upset my family and this woman and her family, but I was able to help Falango figure out who his real father was and help correct some mistakes on my family tree. So far, I haven't found a lot of good news on my dad's side of the family tree. So I'll be making everyone mad for years to come.
Dang. Ancestry DNA is out here ruining your secrets. Spilling all the secrets. Have you guys ever taken a DNA test, an Ancestry DNA test, 23andMe? I'm very curious. I've always felt that I am somewhat related to Vlad the Impaler. My dad's Romanian, so it's possible. We don't know much about my dad's side of the family. Only that he's from Romania, and somehow they have red hair. The red is for blood. Blood! Love blood. Oh gosh, I can't give the conspiracy theorist ammo.
Charlotte admitted she's a Satanist. She loves blood.
I can see the headlines now. Charlotte the witch admits she loves blood. Moving on.
So I'm adopted. I was adopted as a teenager after spending a little bit of time in foster care, and my brothers and I ended up inheriting our biological dad's estate when he died. And I found the craziest things. And I'm just going to kind of tell you about it because it's wild, and this stuff would only happen to me. I think the most interesting part of going through my dead dad stuff is finding these letters and finding out information that I would have never known if I hadn't had the opportunity to go through his house. And so we put all of his stuff in these Rubbermaid containers and brought it back to Georgia. And I've just been slowly going through it. And you know what I found?
What?
my whole life, I was told that I was supposed to be a boy. My parents thought I was a boy, and I came out a girl, and they were like, what the hell? And so the doctors were like, sorry, sometimes we get these things wrong. And so my name was going to be Cameron Michael, but when I came out a girl, it turned into Cameron Michaela, which is literally just Michael with an A at the end of it. Like, they were not creative. Okay. So anyways, I was going through my dad's stuff, and I found this letter. And the letter is from when my mom cheated on him, and he kicked her out, and he sent her to Nebraska. I don't know where it was in Nebraska, but he sent her to Nebraska. And she wrote him this letter, and she was like, I mean, the house is nice, but, like, it's no place to bring your son home to. So I'm an idiot, and I thought, like, she was talking about my brother. So I texted my brother, and I was like, oh, my God, Mom cheated on Dad when she was pregnant with you, and she wrote this letter to him, and look. And so I sent him a picture of it. He texts me back, and he's like, hey, idiot, that's about you. And I was like, nuh-uh. And he was like, December of 1987? Yeah, dummy, that was about you. And I'm like, ew. So, story is true. I'm a legend. It is true. It was. And now I'm going through all these other letters, and it turns out that my dead dad is a dirt bag. And I found like these, remember the old answering machines that had the tapes? Well, he's a crazy man, and he kept some of them, and I listened to them. It is crazy town. So anyways, that's just one of the little tiny stories that I have about that.
Wow, okay. Imagine finding out that you're an illegitimate child. I think that'd be fun. Why not? I feel like it's dangerous to find out that your parents were like not well behaved, you know, because then they can never tell you what to do. You could just be like, well, you cheated on my dad. Well, you're a cheater and I'm an illegitimate child. You can't tell me what to do.
My grandmother took a secret to her grave, and we just found out what it was. She passed back in 2002, and at the time we thought she was born in 1933. We knew her name. We knew that she was an orphan, and she was an only child, that we had no other family connections to her whatsoever, and that her family line lived and died with her. So find me confused when our family gets results back from a 23andMe test telling us that we are African American when my grandmother said that we were English. And I know looking at me you're going to be very confused, because I am too. And currently my family is still figuring out all the details, so I don't have all the information. 23andMe matched my family up with a family in Virginia, which isn't too strange because my grandmother and my grandfather both met in Maryland and got married and ended up moving across the country. So when this family starts pulling out pictures of my grandmother and her 15 siblings, safe to say we were a little shocked. It turns out that Millicent Vaughn was born Mammy Vaughn back in 1927, not 33. She was born to a family
changed her identity.
15 children, all African American, living in Virginia. While her parents did die when she was young, she was not an orphan and an only child like she said she was. She had people taking care of her, and she had a whole family. It turns out that she had decided to run away from her family and completely exorcise herself from her identity. She picked up a new name, she picked up a new race, and she completely erased who she was. So now I have a whole new family, and it's surreal and it's strange, and there's this part of me that doesn't really know who I am. And I think what surprises me the most is the fact that her story is not uncommon for the US at that time. Because she was white passing, she chose to completely reinvent herself and go by a completely different name and racial identity just to create a better life for herself.
Which is understandable.
And while I'm incredibly grateful for the privilege that her decision provided for me, I'm also incredibly sad and confused and excited because I have a whole new family that I didn't know that I had. We're still uncovering details and we're still learning so much, but sharing her story, I'm hopeful will bring other people to find out about their families and maybe uncover similar stories. No one should ever have to feel the need to completely change their identity and step away from their race and their entire family just to find a better life. That is heartbreaking, and that is so sad, and that was so common.
It was common because Black people didn't really have rights until like very recently. So they shouldn't have to need to do that. But I can understand why they did. Wow, 23andMe bringing out all the dirty laundry. Think about it. These people never imagined that the truth would come out.
Okay, so what's some family tea that you found out about when you got older?
You know, I don't think I've ever said this story to anybody out loud, but
Tell us.
I guess now that I'm an adult orphan, my mom's not here, my dad's not here, I can tell their business, right?
Yes.
It's only right.
Yes.
And if you're a part of my family and you see this and you get offended, I'm sorry, but it's my truth.
Period.
All right, bet. So it's 2015. I'm 27 years old. I get invited to my cousin on my father's side barbecue. So I grab my son. We go out there. We're having a good time. He's 7 at the time. Having a great time. My father's there. Whole bunch of my family is there on my father's side. My oldest sister is there. There are 4 of us, okay? I have an older sister, a brother, a sister right above me, and then me. Me and my oldest sister were 17 years apart. Me and my brother are 14 years apart. And me and my sister right above me were 8 years apart, okay? That is pertinent to the story. So, we having a good time. Black people barbecue, hot weather. We having a good time. People dancing, eating, drinking. My father drinking. My father drinking. My father
Drinking.
So I'm outside with
Truth
my father
serum.
and my favorite uncle, and we just chilling. We just whatever. We talking. My father, he a little lit. I'm a little lit, but not like lit. My father was lit. I'm just nice. My uncle, he was sober. He a cop. We love him. I love him to death. He basically raised me too. So my father, in his drunkenness, decides to tell my 27-year-old self, "Oh, did you know that you're the baby of the side chick?" The baby of the side chick? What the hell are you talking about? Well, I was with your sister's mother when you were born, and I never really told anybody about your mother, so I just brought you around one day, and they were like, whose baby is that? And yeah, that was basically it. Now, I'm sitting there with the screw face, okay? Because I'm 27 years old. Boo-boo, no one's ever told me this. My uncle is looking at me because he can see that I'm about to cry, and my uncle is like, oh, you know, I remember when you were a baby and you were so beautiful and you were this and you were that. Child, I was
Done.
I was
You're
like,
done.
What? So I had to go inside and find my older sister because I knew that if my sister told me this, then it was going to be true if she validated it for me because she's 17 years older than me. She keeps it straight with me, whatever. And when I found my sister, she going to tell me, she goes, okay, well, did anybody ever treat you any different? Me, I was like, no. She's like, all right then. So, yeah, that's the day that I found out that the family tea was me.
Okay, but wait. So they knew this whole time and never said a thing? You don't think that maybe you would have liked to have known that little tidbit of information vital to understanding who you are as a person? Well, did anybody treat you different? Well, yeah, you kind of lied to her about her entire existence, so I would say that's treating people a little different. At least you gained a full sister out of it. It's a hard truth, but at the same time, your sister's right. Just remember you were loved and not an outcast. Okay. We'll give them that. I understand what they meant. I was just making a very joke. I'd be telling my parents' business too now that I'm an orphan. No more feelings to hurt. Dad is banned from drinking now. I think that maybe that's probably a good idea. I like how he just like nonchalantly just popped it into the conversation. Oh, you the side chick's baby.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready. What did you say? My mother is not my... Dad, this is not the time or place to be saying that.
Allow me to just drop a bomb at the family cookout. Tell me a scandalous family secret that you otherwise would take to the grave. Subscribe